You ever get the feeling that everything in America is completely fucked up?
You know that feeling that the whole country is like 1 inch away from saying, that's it, forget it.
Okay, so make sure my volume's on. Cool, it's on. We're doing something right, and that is going to bother me. Where is that? Over here? Whoa. Sorry, guys. That'll just bother me. Okay, so there was a little bit of interesting news today. I'm going to cover a short little tidbit of news that I didn't get to yesterday with the free vaccines. Because we all know that great things come when they are free. So, we'll want to touch on that a little bit. And is the spirit of 1776 back? That is all the talk on Twitter right now. Happens to be what Trump had said today. And I believe it was through an executive order that we'll be teaching, or maybe it's like mandatory to teach patriotic history in classrooms again, or maybe have like a set way to teach it. I'm not really positive. I haven't gotten into the full details, but it does kind of make you wonder, which direction does this go? Because I myself can say that public schools have failed us. No Child Left Behind actually left a lot of kids behind, right? And as far as history goes, we don't get to dive into history too deep in the classroom. That's not often. You have to have a really good teacher. Lucky enough, I did have a pretty decent teacher in high school, but as far as getting into the details, it was not exactly her set curriculum. But there were a few kids in class that could bring up questions or topics, and we could get a little bit deeper into detail, and she didn't mind doing that. So that was pretty cool. I guess I might have been lucky for having such a good teacher like that. But I also have to wonder, which direction does this take us? Because at the moment, I'm already a little bit concerned with the loyalist to Trump. And now, there's nothing wrong with liking or supporting somebody, but once you get to a point of literally worshiping the ground that they walk on, then we might be going a little bit too far, right? And I can also say that we need a better way to do public school. I think most of us can agree on that. From everything from math to history, there needs to be something better happening there, because it's amazing to see how many people my age actually have a 4th or 5th grade reading level, right? So a lot of kids did get left behind, but as far as what we're going to talk about today, I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it. I kind of still stand in the middle of that sounds good, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that sound good out there, and then the results that we get from them tend to be something that we don't exactly want, right? Richard says, in my days, in the 50s, in school, they taught us both the good and the bad of American history, and we were allowed to ask questions. Doesn't seem that way today. Exactly, Richard. There were quite a couple topics or questions that I would bring up in history class where the entire class would be pretty pissed off. I've just been really good at pissing people off my whole life, guys. Like, that's been my thing. I'm really good at it. Um, but with some of the questions that I would ask or some of the input that I would have for the classroom, yeah, that could really tick some kids off. But I think that once they actually maybe opened their minds a little bit and had a better understanding of something, then they could calm down a little bit. Christopher says paychecks will be larger because Fed taxes are not taken out till further notice. You will owe next year. Yeah, you will. All right, so I think that we're ready to go ahead and get into the news. And now we can do that. Before we get into it, though, everybody should know that this channel is sponsored by Wise Wolf Gold and Silver Exchange. If you feel the need to get your hands on some precious metals, and I feel the need kind of more than ever just because of what the Fed is doing right now, the amount of corporate debt that they're buying, the amount of people that are out of work. We had another... Oh, what was the number today? It was under 1 million, but it was still pretty high for people that have filed for new unemployment. You've got 60% of business not coming back. We're talking about the small business, the middle class and upper middle class families that are out there. So everything that we're seeing right now, for some of us, it seems like it's okay, surface level, but it's not okay. This is all going to catch up to us as a country, as a whole. This is going to catch up to you. So always be sure to be topped off on a little bit of extra food. Have a way to, clean some water. These are really important things. Maybe have a generator or a small solar setup, at least to keep your fridge going. After you feel comfortable with some other preps, dive into the gold and silver just a little bit, all right? Just a little bit. It's just a safety net. That's all it is. I'm not even telling you that you're going to be able to go and barter it. That's not what I'm saying. I don't believe in gold and silver necessarily for full-blown shift. Now, if you could keep it through whatever comes after that apocalyptic stage, that could be very useful. But then again, we can't see the entire future. I just like it personally as my safety net. So give me just a second to set some stuff up here so we can go ahead and get into the news. I forgot I had something else open. All right, so let's dive into this first. I did want to say before we got started, I did get a PayPal donation yesterday evening, late into the night, and I got a donation right before we started the stream. Now, because those are straight through, those come straight through PayPal, I won't ever say your name if it comes straight through there, but I do recognize that I got those. I got the notifications, guys. Now, if you want to donate and you don't want to shout out at all, you just want to know that I saw it, PayPal's the best way to go. If you want to donate and fill this little donation bar up here and have a little dancing character or be recognized and get your shout out while we're live, you can do that through the Streamlabs link. It's very simple. You just go in, you put in your username that I know you as, and you can send a donation over from over there. I didn't want to forget those people that had donated yesterday and before we started. All right. I feel like my mic is a little bit off, but we'll deal with it. So, the federal government unveils plans to make this vaccine free for all Americans. A gradual rollout would give preference to vulnerable populations and health workers. Do y'all guys remember the stream that I did? What was it? On the main channel. If you remember, I did a stream where it was going to be the vaccine lottery. It kind of feels like we're going that direction. Equating the police to the KKK. That's kind of messed up because not all... I wouldn't doubt that there's some in some areas that might dabble in some outside events, but that would be kind of silly to say that all police are with the KKK. But yeah, it just feels like we're going to have a vaccine lottery. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. You get aluminum and thimerosal. Yay! So the plan's in from a report to Congress and a playbook for states and local governments. The Associated Press reported the agencies are looking at January for a potential beginning of a vaccine or vaccination campaign. although it remains possible that this could come later this year. Remember, Trump wants a vaccine before elections. Like, Trump would like to give you a vaccine in October. We'll see how that goes. We are working closely with our state and local health partners to ensure that Americans can receive the vaccine as soon as possible and vaccinate with confidence. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar said in a statement. Vaccinations would start gradually among some segments of the population, such as healthcare workers, other essential workers, and the more vulnerable, before eventually ramping up for distribution to all who want it. According to the CDC and Prevention's Playbook, the vaccination campaign will be much larger in scope and complexity than seasonal influenza or other previous outbreak-related vaccination responses. Yay! Several vaccine candidates currently going through the trials could end up being approved. The expectation is that for most of them, people would need 2 doses between 21 and 28 days apart. The playbook encourages providers to give reminders to patients to get their second dose, which must be the same vaccine manufacturer as the first. So this is where things get interesting, because there's a lot of people that don't care to take this vaccine. An AP poll in May showed that 20% would not get a corona vaccine and 31% were unsure. It's a pretty big number. They go on to talk about, Democrats talking about, oh, it's totally unsafe, da-da-da-da-da. And I get the whole thing shouldn't be political. It's funny how all of a sudden there's a lot of people that don't care to vaccinate, but it's all for a political reason. That's not logical thinking. Where is the logic in that? Because Biden or Kamala doesn't want to get the vaccine and they don't trust. Why is it just Trump's vaccine that you don't trust? It's not like he's in a basement in a lab concocting it himself. He's working with the same manufacturers that they would if they were in the same situation. It's just not a very logical thing. And we can totally move on from this now, because I think a lot of us have known, what's coming down with this sort of, we have a pretty good idea on how this is going to go. All right, so this is from out of the White House today. President Real Donald Trump, that's his official Twitter, announced that he will sign an executive order establishing a commission to promote patriotic education, the 1776 Commission. So, guys, this is going to really light a fire under a ton of people. Like I'm saying, it sounds very good. It sounds good, right? History is pretty important. Although, whether you mandated this or not, how the teacher delivers that information is going to be the key point. And you can't really watch every teacher in every classroom like that. I guess with AI powers and technology you could, but it doesn't really seem realistic, right? So I'll let us listen into what Trump had to say today. It's just a short little clip.
Announce that I will soon sign an executive order establishing a national commission to promote patriotic education. It will be called the 1776 Commission.
I can already tell you right there, the moment that he said that, a ton of people got hella excited. And it's understandable, but like I said, we're going to have to really kind of break down exactly what, is this just words to make things sound good? Is there truly an agenda to it? Are we going to have better educational classes? Or, just to throw it out there, guys, and I'm not harping on this, but depending on, how you... It's not even just how you teach the youth anymore. Look at all the people that are really wrapped up in the Q conspiracy. Or I really should say PSYOP, a Q PSYOP. They are so wrapped up into that. It can become dangerous, right? And I don't really see something like this making things so much better in the classroom, because it all boils down on how the teacher delivers the information, whether one delivers it in a positive light or the other delivers it in a totally negative light. That all depends. There's not a lot of people out there that would maybe be like you or me, where you just kind of stand in the middle and you're like, all right, here's the good, the bad, and the ugly. all the clapping. They love it. They really love it. Does he say anything else?
Thank you. It will encourage our educators to teach our children about the miracle of American history and make plans to honor the 250th anniversary of our founding. Think of that, 250 years. Recently, I also signed an executive order to establish the National Garden of American Heroes, a vast outdoor park that will feature the statues of the greatest Americans who have ever lived. Today, I'm also pleased to announce.
So there we go. I kind of want to know what you guys think about that sort of thing. You know, on surface level, it does sound pretty good, right? But I just have to. Kids are very vulnerable. Our country right now is extremely vulnerable. I mean, even just talking about adults and things, we're in a pretty vulnerable kind of situation right now. You know, and that's what scares me about any time that we bring up somebody huge or somebody that's really looked at talking about 1776. That lights a fire. It actually should light a fire under you. So I wonder, like, not just the kids have no idea what's going on, but as far as adults, I wonder, like, how hyped up are people out there? Because it's a big part of history, but it's also kind of sad because the same people that think that they're all about 1776, they want to see more militarized police. You know, I saw an interview today on Fox News and they were all hyping up the militarization of police. You know, we're still paying insane amounts of taxes. You're paying an income tax. You know, there's a lot of our country that's set up on socialist type standards, right? Like everything that we're doing with these stimulus checks, and we should be doing something about unemployment. It would kind of be irresponsible of a country to not have something temporary for major disasters. But at the same time, we know that a lot of this stuff is not going to be temporary. So that's kind of where my problem comes in with some of the unemployment benefits that we might have today. Sadly, a lot of this is not going to have a chance to stay temporary. Say it, friends. They're taking that hopium. They are taking the hopium. I've been trying not to say it, but that's exactly what this video is giving people. And I won't lie. Like, I just want to see what's going to come of it. I can't come in and just totally, piss on it right now. I need to see what's actually going to come of this. Is it going to be better for our kids in school? History is insanely important, but with the kind of teachers that we know that are out there, I just wonder how well the message is going to be delivered. You know, it could totally backfire by giving them a set agenda on how to teach more, depending on the delivery from the teacher. It could be even worse. Because if the teacher's just going to compare everything to a Hitler-style era, that's not going to help our kids understand history very well. Because what happened in 1776 and what happened during that era that's kind of two different things, all right? Two different things. All right, so now I just wanted to bring this up. I have another video for us. We're going to go ahead and jump into this one. And I'm not picking sides here. You guys know what I have to say. So you saw that Soros was trending a lot on Twitter today, maybe on your Facebook today. He's been a big topic, I think, for the past 3 days. This interview on Fox News gets so weird, and I think that a lot of people, some people understand, but others really don't. I think a lot of people were kind of blown away by how Fox News handled this, because you would think that they would be all over it, and I believe that they're talking to Newt Gingrich here. I can never say his last name correctly. Little silly Newt. He's like always giddy and stuff. It just gets so awkward. Let me make sure I got my volume up and we'll listen in.
Pro-criminal and overwhelmingly elected with George Soros's money, and they're a major cause of the violence we're seeing because they keep putting the violence.
Okay, so he's talking about, George Soros's money is being funneled to a lot of these cities and places that are being burned down. And I think a lot of us can agree that that's happening. I would like to throw in that there's other money being thrown around too. You know, George Soros is just kind of like the fall guy. He doesn't mind taking all the blame. There's even bigger people behind him that are controlling what we're seeing happen in front of us now. There's a lot of money being funneled in, and it's not just from Democrats, because you have to remember, Republicans and Democrats, that's surface level stuff. All right, absolutely surface level. Behind all of that is huge companies, huge corporations, people that you've never heard of with billions of dollars to funnel in, and they have a set agenda. All right?
Criminals back on the street.
I'm not sure we need to bring George Soros into this.
I was going to say you get the last word, Speaker.
He paid for it. I mean, why can't we discuss the fact that millions of dollars he spent?
I agree with Melissa. George Soros doesn't need to be a part of this conversation.
Okay.
It just gets so awkward from here.
So it's verboten.
All right, we're going to... Okay, we're going to move on.
Pro-criminal.
Wow, is that like not the most awkward moment you've seen in TV history ever? That's... Newt's just like, what did I do wrong? I thought we didn't like George Soros. He's a Democrat. But think about who runs Fox News. Think about the other money that might be involved in a lot of the chaos that you're seeing. There are some people, sorry Newt, but there's some people that we're not supposed to talk about. All right? That's funny. That's absolutely funny to me. Okay. And now we're going to get into some tech news and some market news, okay? Like we have to do it because it pisses me off, to be honest. All right? I don't give a shit whether you use TikTok or not. I'm not really all that concerned with what the, Does it sound scary to have the Chinese government looking into what you're doing and every move that you make? Yes. That sounds absolutely terrifying, but I don't really want to hear it because you're using a phone that was made in China. You're probably watching on a TV that was made in China. Xbox, PlayStation, everything is made in China. So I'm not really too concerned about the Chinese-made app. You know, my own government is watching just as much as they are, and I fear both of them equally. How's that? Oh, man. All right, so TikTok set to IPO globally if Trump approves deal with Oracle and apparently Walmart. I don't know why Walmart wants to get in. That's so weird. President Trump is expected to decide on TikTok's fate in the U.S. in the next 24 to 36 hours. So, like, by tomorrow. ByteDance plans to IPO TikTok's global business. Walmart is expected to partner with Oracle. Guys, that is the scariest data collection company in the world. If you okay, here's the deal. If you haven't looked into Oracle, or this is your first time hearing about it, please go and look into all the money that's funneled into there. Go and look at who their partners are. Go and look at where they're located and look how close they are to some other companies that you would be pretty scared of, right? And to add the cherry on top, all they do is basically collect data. I mean, they do more than data because they can be a part of the data is useful for other things such as marketing, campaigns, presidential elections, whatever you want to think, right? They could do a lot with swaying the minds of people. So the deal is where Oracle would own less than 20% of the social media app, according to sources. Oh, so Donald Trump is expected to decide on this in 24 to 36 hours. To address ownership concerns, ByteDance plans to do an initial public offering, that's your IPO, of global TikTok on U.S. stock exchange. According to people familiar with the matter, Oracle will also own a minority stake that will be less than 20% of the new global TikTok. Two of the people said Walmart will also take a stake, though its size is still unknown according to two of the people. See, the most interesting part about this to me is what does Walmart have to do with any of this? Like, I just can't wrap my mind around why Walmart would want to be in there. So the Treasury Department sent major revisions about security issues on the TikTok Oracle term sheet Wednesday night. Sources told CNBC ByteDance has fully agreed to those revisions, the sources said, although it's unclear what the changes entailed. Trump has been meeting with cabinet members and other advisors as he decides whether or not to approve the deal. According to others familiar with the matter who asked not to be named because the talks are private, there are mixed points of views among his advisors, who include Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, super great guy, Secretary of Treasury Steve Mnuchin, another just really awesome guy, and Jared Kushner, who's definitely not the spawn of the devil at all. An initial public offering of TikTok would likely be the largest technology IPO in recent years. And right now, we're having an IPO frenzy. And we're about to get into some more news about that. Oh, well, that's cool. Restream is just like telling me random things. Do I get like a trophy for that? That's okay. But here, let's just jump into this other IPO business. Maybe some of you that keep up with these kinds of things know what I'm about to talk about, and you're rolling your eyes right now, just as I was doing yesterday. So, IPO like it's 1999. Now, for those of you that don't know exactly what they're hinting at, we're in a big-ass bubble. And they're literally comparing these tech IPOs now back to the dot-com bubble, right? Except for this time, we're not in a housing bubble. We're not in a stock market bubble. It's not a tech bubble. We're in an everything bubble, and it is eventually going to explode. Now, I get it. The Fed is there. They're the buyers and lenders of last resort, and they will buy until there is nothing left. I mean, you got to think about it. They're buying corporate debt. That's insane. Airline companies are probably going to get a second bailout. And I just want to ask everybody here, it's amazing how pissed off people would be if this happened under Obama. But it's happening under Trump, so it's fucking great, right? America. Oh, market hitting .com boom levels as Snowflake. Snowflake? I kept hearing about this and kept getting notifications about this yesterday all day long. And other cloud software stocks keep popping. It's unreal. Like, they kind of made some history. So as the importance of cloud software has grown in the global scamdemic, cloud software companies have become the most stark example of initial public offerings reaching .com boom levels and beyond. Way beyond. 2 cloud software companies debuted in a story day Wednesday on Wall Street, ringing the bell on their respective exchanges virtually, and then seeing their shares soar in a way that would have stood out even in 1999. Snowflake, you can find that under the ticker SNOW, pulled in a record amount for a software company, and shares soared nearly 112% in their first day on the New York Stock Exchange to a market valuation of more than $70 billion. DealLogic said Snowflake had the largest valuation of a company to double its price in a market debut, based on data stretching back to 1995. Guys, I'm not going to go super duper deep into this, but yesterday, if you were reading about Snowflake, you could tell that we were in a bubble. Hold on just a moment. You could actually tell that we were in a bubble because no one could tell you exactly what Snowflake does. That wasn't the point, right? No one actually cares what Snowflake does. It seems in a way, if you go deep enough, that they're going to try to do kind of what Oracle does. Again, look into that company, Oracle, if you haven't. But anybody that does know about Oracle, if you know about that company, how are you to beat what they do? And there's several cloud computing companies coming out right now. I hate to say this, but it's really silly to buy into these new startup companies. First of all, there's a lot of scams to that. You're making billionaires overnight. They're going to dump that stock and run. I mean, you saw what happened with Snap 2 years ago or whenever it IPO'd, right? So we keep going through these tech bubbles and we're going through these cycles. It makes no sense. If you play the stock market, let me at least give you my opinion, because I'm not a financial advisor. It's not like I trade stocks all day. Go watch Gregory Mannarino for that. He's actually really good. I just don't care to touch the stock market. I'm not confident enough, and I don't have enough money saved up to just go play and gamble my money. That's why I prefer gold and silver. Much prefer that. But it's interesting because everybody just sees the word data or cloud computing or a cloud company and they jump into the market. They want to be in so badly. It doesn't make much sense to me because Oracle's out there, Amazon Web Services is out there. Those are the two biggest, most dominant companies that I could think of. And I'm not really sure because they've been established for so long. How are you to actually, hey, thank you, the Airy Fairy, for sharing that link. I mean, honestly, if you guys wanted to go and play the stock market, have at it. I can't stop you. I would just say it's a really, really silly move. And I feel safer in, the gold and the silver. I can have savings set aside that isn't in cash. Cash is devaluing every single day. I'm not a huge fan of cash. I basically just like having enough to pay my bills and for a little emergency that might come up. But further than that, I'm not even a big fan of holding cash. And this market is just so insane. There's a lot of older people around me who love looking at their 401ks right now. They love looking at their retirement funds. For those that just like to dabble in the stock market, they feel like they're having a whole lot of fun because the stocks just keep going through the roof. I mean, I had told you guys before, I actually mentioned before this manufactured crisis came up, that we would probably see Dow 30,000. Now that got hammered, right? Whenever the scamdemic came up, hammered. But then we're right back to where we were and then some. We're up percentages from there. That's insane. Remember, keep in mind, 60% of small businesses are not coming back. You have got 50 to 60 million Americans out of work that we know of. Those are people that are, that's still freshly applied for. There's a lot of people that didn't have work before this happened, right? We're giving stimulus checks. There's unemployment benefits. We are giving companies huge amounts of money that they can just run away with. Loans that never have to be returned. People are applying for forbearance. What is going to happen when we get back to our normal? You are going to see the train come to a stop then. The boat is sinking. Get out now. Get out. And what do I mean by, what do I mean get out? It means get ready for whatever is to come. I don't know how violent and gory it's going to be. I don't know how economically terrible it's going to be. I can let you know, though, that all of those things come true when one or the other happens. It's going to be pretty bad. And don't look at the stock market. Trump touts the stock market as if that's the economy. You and me are not Wall Street. We have nothing to do with Wall Street. Absolutely nothing to do with Wall Street. Right? That's not what America looks like right now. Remember, when Venezuela was going through all of their troubles and you heard about them eating zoo animals, they had the best performing stock market in the world. Stock market does not equate to the normal everyday people. And right, Yeshua Live says food shortage here. They're getting you primed and ready for that, are they not? So go and get your hands on some of the things that you need. Food, water, self-defense being the very first. That is always the most important. I think it's silly to just have food and water. I think it's silly to just have guns and ammo. I think it's silly to just have precious metals. For me, that's your starting point on being diverse. Whether it's once a month that you can go and afford something new, maybe once every 3 months, it's something. Don't tell yourself I'm poor and I can't do anything. I think a lot of us have to work on a budget. All right, things are tight for most of us out there, but that's not an excuse. I don't go out and buy silly I don't really go and do that. Like, most of the time I won't buy a t-shirt unless it's like $10 or less. Like, seriously. So, you know, and for other things, I'll save up and get something really, really nice. And I can do that because I'm so strict on how I spend my money and where it goes. I don't know. I'm extremely strict on all that kind of stuff. So, that's where we're at, all right? Like, things look okay. Most of us know that they're not okay. To the normal everyday person, they think that it's just another year gone by and 2020 has just been kind of weird. I think that a lot of us know that they are setting us up for something epic to come, right? We have elections coming up. There's a possibility of this vaccine that you might have to get to go to work. I'm not really sure yet. It's going to be free. How fantastic. Let's see what the Airy Fairy has to say. What is scary is even if you prep and are set with food and have a network in your community, they're just going to use weather warfare to destroy it, in my opinion. Doesn't mean we still shouldn't try, though. Exactly. The Airy Fairy, anything can come about, but the best thing is to actually try to be ready for it. And if you're actually... Let me throw this out there if that's what you're concerned with. If you're prepared for almost any... So, you know, a lot of people prepare for specific scenarios. And me, more than anything, I'll say that I prepare more for economic collapse. Now, that doesn't mean that I stack cash or have a treasure chest full of gold and silver. That's not what that means at all. It means, okay, so economic collapse. It took 3 to 4 years to find the house that I'm in. We were very patient with that because there is a bit of a housing bubble, right? And we're in the everything bubble. It's not just about housing. But I tried to get something that we can hold on to if all else fails, okay? It's on solar, it's on rainwater collection. Now, a lot of people maybe don't think that they have that luxury, and that makes sense. But I don't know. Look around and see if there's a really cheap acre of land for sale that's out in the middle of nowhere, maybe 5 or 10 acres, that you can afford, and you know, you can do a 15 to 30-year mortgage on it. Maybe put like a teeny tiny little cabin on that you either build yourself or just go buy one cheap and slowly set it up to have a little rainwater collection unit on it. Maybe get some solar on it. Power is not the most important thing, but it definitely is a nice luxury to have because then you could have a freezer or a refrigerator, right? Take baby steps. We don't get there overnight. Definitely, you can never get there overnight. But taking little baby steps. And even if you're concerned about the weather warfare, I would say that most people that feel pretty prepped think that they could at least survive some bad weather. See, that's where I get scared as well because we're saving money and talking around to people on getting ourselves a root cellar, not just so we can better save vegetables and things from the garden, but so that way we also have a place to go if storms do get really bad here. And so it's those baby steps. I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I feel terrified. Just the wrong gust of wind could come and I could have a tree on my house or something, right? But that doesn't necessarily stop me. And a root cellar would be pretty... That's kind of like the top of our list thing right now, but we know it's not going to be cheap. And it's hard to kind of find somebody that can maybe come and help us do that. I think we could do it all by ourselves, but it would be nice to at least have somebody come out and have some heavy equipment that could at least... Not a fire, though. I'm in Cali. You could use a root cellar for a fire as well, because theoretically, your root cellar should do fine. That and probably have like some sort of respirator mask. You know, you need a little bit of ventilation, but you wouldn't want to overwhelm yourself. You could always kind of stuff your ventilation until the fire is kind of over. But a root cellar would work for that. That's another reason I want to have one, is because I know if we had wildfires where I live, there's not going to be a whole lot to contain the initial start of it. There's a lot of places up here that fire trucks can't, like a fire truck can't come to my house. I already know that. It's impossible. So, you know, I worry about those things as well. If they would start one here, or even if somebody else accidentally started one, it would kind of be hard. Yeah, you don't want a root cellar in a flood zone. That can get kind of dangerous. But here's another thing is if you're building your root cellar correctly, it's not supposed to flood because you put drainage in the root cellar. You know, whenever you're looking at, I'm just telling you this because I've looked into it for like 2 years now, and think about how the old timers do it and then some of the new things that people implement into them today. It's possible. You know, they're great for all kinds of things if you build them to it like a specific T to outlast anything. You'll be good. All right, guys. Well, I see that I've actually been on for almost 50 minutes, so I kind of need to get done with this because I don't really know how well our data plan's going to work yet. So I need to get out of here. I hope that you guys have a nice night, and I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, I should see you tomorrow. Everything should be good and set up. All right. Bye, guys.